Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the JD Rucker Show, the new and revamped JD Rucker Show. We are in the process of making some pretty darn cool changes. I have not been this excited about doing my show in weeks. I get excited for certain shows. It's true, but as far as the overall direction of the show, this is extremely exciting to me because for really the last year and a half, my focus has been on politics, culture, and faith has always been the theme of the show, but this has been so politics heavy. Obviously, with election season, that made a lot of sense. And I had told myself, even before the election, I said, you know what? When the election comes, you're going to have to make a decision. And you're going to have to decide, is this really what you want to do? Do you want to be a political commentator? And really the question was, do you want to do what so many hundreds, thousands of people are already doing in the United States, which is starting conservative political podcasts? And look, I'm not one to shy away from competition. I don't mind a crowded field. I feel that I can offer more than your average podcaster. But with that said, it would be different if that was my passion. But politics has always been just a side distraction for me. It's always been something where it's like, it's important. It affects us. I really should talk about it because there are so many shenanigans happening. But it's just, my heart's not into it. And that's not to say that I'm not going to talk about politics. I'm just not going to focus solely on politics. If you watch from the beginning, you will notice that we have a brand new opening, new theme song, new everything. And I think that really portrays more of the direction of the show. We are going to be talking more about conspiracies, more about the Bible. Those are the two things that I believe I'm best suited to discuss. Sure, I think I've got some excellent insights when it comes to breaking down the 1,500-page budget or continuing resolution, the CR. It's a debacle, and I am going to actually do that today. But I want to really break it down from the perspective of what this means. Not necessarily, look at this waste, look at that waste. That's easy. What's a little bit more challenging, at least for some, but not for me, is to avoid the narrative and go after the truth. What is really behind this push to get this up and out there so fast, with so little time for anybody to be able to digest it? That's not an accident. That's not a flaw. That's a feature of how our government operates, and it's a feature that needs to change. So I'm still going to be talking about politics. One of the reasons that I did stay with politics through the election and even a little bit after the election is because when it comes to sponsorships, when it comes to sales, look, this is not just a hobby. This is what I do. And so it has to be able to generate enough money to feed my family. Now, being in more of a political arena, being conservative media, that has been very beneficial for us in the past, because let's face it, you can get a lot more sponsorships if you're talking about how bad the Dems are and how we're going to own the libs. It's a lot easier to get sponsorships for that than if you're talking about, oh my gosh, what are the demons doing in in our schools? Look at this crazy vaccine story, or this insane, what they're calling a UFO, or now a UAV or UVA or USDA, whatever. They come up with a new acronym for those crazy flying things all the time. It is harder to get sponsorships, and for those who didn't know, and there's no reason for you that you should know, because I haven't spoken about it openly, but I think it's time. We have one of my endeavors, something that I put a ton of effort into the last 2.5, 3 years. It appears that it may be the latest victim of Bidenomics. Nothing's set in stone yet. I'm still trying to work through the details with people that I'm working with, but it's not looking good. I mean, between inflation and everything that's happening, the lack of economic stability here in the United States of America, we went from thriving to starving in a matter of months. Really, it like the rug was pulled out from under us, and so trying to work through that. And as a result, it's funny because it's an endeavor. I would like to say, well, I've got to be conscious of my time and my sponsors. But here's the thing: is that despite the fact that I personally have helped to sell millions of dollars worth of products, I have never actually received a penny from the company. You're like, what in the world? How is that possible? Yeah, I know. Silly me made a bad deal, but I've never actually been paid for it. And now it looks like there's a chance that I might not get paid. And I'm not saying, oh, woe is me. I'm telling you that this was part of the thought process. I've gone through for the last 1.5 2 years trying to build this as a brand, as a business. It's like, look, I can help you sell more My Pillows, and nothing. I'm still going to be talking to you about My Pillows, but that's not me. It's not where my heart is. My heart is with Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. My heart is with the United States of America. And not just fighting against the libs, it really is about the uniparty swamp. And once we start talking, it's easy to talk about it's the Democrats are the bad guys and the Republicans are the good guys. But I don't believe that. I believe that the vast majority, 99.9% of Democrat politicians truly are legitimately the bad guys. But unfortunately, probably 75, 80, 90% maybe of the Republicans are also the bad guys. I know a lot of you don't want to hear that. A lot of you want to think, oh, but the Republicans are doing so good. No, the Republicans fail miserably, constantly. The Democrats are successful with their stupidity, and the Republicans, who have what should be the moral high ground as well as the ideological high ground, they fail because they're not really wanting to fix things. Here's the problem with bureaucrats. Here's the problems with politicians as well. Is that if you do well enough, if you're a bureaucrat and you do well enough, then you are eliminating your job. You have to have problems in order to run a bureaucracy. If you eliminate all the problems, if you are a perfect bureaucrat, then your necessity is obliterated. Sort of the same thing with politicians. It's easier to see it from our perspective. It's easier to see it Democrats on the left because they will say, look, here's a problem. There's poverty in the city. We're going to fix the problem by raising taxes on the rich and giving it back to the poor. And then as a result, what ends up happening is the economy tanks in that particular city. And then all of a sudden you have more poor, and then they rinse and repeat. Well, look at all this poverty. We're going to have to make some more regulations and control more businesses and raise more taxes in this. And it's a cycle. And this goes on for years or even decades, right? But they're able to perpetuate control over cities like Chicago, right? Who hasn't seen Republican control not in my lifetime. So they're able to continue down that path by failing. If they were successful, if they were able to eliminate poverty, they would probably lose the majority. But they know that they can thrive off poverty, right? Same thing happens on the Republican side. On the Republican side, especially we'll see it with a lot when it comes to war, for example, or foreign policy. The neocons still do control a huge chunk of the GOP, which is why there's so many Republican lawmakers that are saying, oh, we got to back Ukraine, got to send more aid to Israel, send more aid to Ukraine, send it to Taiwan, to the Philippines. Just got to send aid everywhere. We need to put troops in every nation. We can't turn our back on, Mitch McConnell's out there. Trump and the mega isolationists, they're going to be, and then he freezes, of course. But you get the idea. I'm not going to sit here and just be rah-rah for the GOP. There are certain ones that I like. Obviously, I like a lot of the people that Trump's putting together in the White House, but not all of them. There are some that, compared to 2016, it's night and day. Okay, we are winning big time compared to the people that he put into the White House in 2016, but it's still not perfect. There are still people that we have to watch, people that I'm concerned about. And so, not focusing so much on Republican politics and focusing more on trying to find the underlying causes to our problems in politics, that to me is a better direction for the JD Rucker Show. But I'm also going to be talking about the things that you're not supposed to talk about. It's funny. I put in a clip from in the opening. My wife actually had me put it in. It was from the I think it was the Air Force, the tapes they'd released 4 years ago about them. Look, here's a UFO, and then all of a sudden the UFO phenomenon has started. Congress is having hearings, Senate's having hearings. All these bombshells are popping out up there, and yada yada yada. It seems as if we're being set up for an extraterrestrial or extra dimensional, whichever direction they choose, because they're setting out in both directions, either an extraterrestrial or extra dimensional incursion or announcement. We're not alone. Now, to me, I put those things out there, and I am a firm believer that there are no aliens, there are no extra dimensional creatures, other than, if you want to say aliens or extra dimensional creatures are demonic or otherwise, Nephilim related, or however you want to word it. There's, I'm not going into specifics about my thoughts at this point because I just want to let you know what it is versus explaining what I believe the reality is. In other words, I don't think that it's anything that comes from another planet. And if it does come from a separate or alternate dimension, that would be coming from behind the veil that's described in the Bible. I do think that this is more demonic in nature than anything that could be attributed to science fiction or spacecraft. Now you might say, well, but what about all these sightings of this, that, or the other? Okay, well, none of the things that we've seen would lead us to believe that it's impossible. In other words, there's no evidence that says it's extraterrestrials or extra dimensionals or even demons. Like, there's no evidence that points in one direction or the other. I choose to take the perspective that aligns more with a biblical worldview. And it does seem to jibe. It seems to pan out. So that is the direction that we are heading. Talking about things that would get me banned on YouTube. I already got a warning last week or last month about talking about medical misinformation. Of course, I was talking about the jabs, but I'm no longer going to care whether YouTube bans me or not. My focus is going to be on Rumble, on pardon me. Never eat a macadamia nut before you start a segment of a show, because you're going to get that little bit stuck in your throat. It's awful. But I'm going to focus on Rumble, which you can follow my channel. Obviously, I'm on Worldview Tube. I'm on BitChute, Brighteon, Frank Speech, a bunch of various places. But the only place where you'll be able to find the entirety of my shows will be on my Rumble channel at jdrucker.com/rumble. That'll redirect you to I don't want to tell you it's rumble.com/c/the, jdrucker.com/rumble. That takes you directly to my channel. Also, I'll be focusing a lot on x.com/jdrucker, my Twitter account, where somebody had noted yesterday, because I have open DMs, and it's like, hey, you say you have open DMs, but I've been waiting for 3 days to get a reply from you. One bad part about having open DMs, for those who don't have open DMs, you do get dozens of DMs per day, and I do try my best to go through them all. The best way to contact me really is jdrucker.com/talk. That sends me a direct email, and then I actually get to keep it separate, right? So, Lots of things changing. Changing for the better. We're going to be talking more about conspiracies. And yes, they are theories, but here's the thing. I think most Americans have been indoctrinated into this concept that conspiracy theories or conspiracy theorists are bad. That is, in itself, a psyop from the CIA to alleviate conspiracy theories. Because here's the reality. There are conspiracies. There are people in power who conspire against other people, including those who have enough power to conspire against all of us, or the vast majority of us. So there are conspiracies, period. And conspiracies could be demonic. Conspiracies could be focused on not just a powerful group of elite cabal members, but it could also be, for example, a conspiracy from big pharma executives, from the military-industrial complex, from members of Congress, from people in the White House, from judges across the nation. If you think that there are no conspiracies, if you think that every sitting judge, none of them get bribed or bullied or blackmailed, if you think that every vote is only legal votes are ever counted, if you think any of those things, then, well, number one, you're wrong. And number two, that's the only point, believing those things to not be true. That's when you can say, okay, so I'm against conspiracy theories. Otherwise, you shouldn't be. I don't care which side of the political aisle you're on, what your faith is, what your race is, what anything is. You should acknowledge there are conspiracies currently in the world, and that because of the secrecy surrounding most of them, all we have to address them are theories. So to me, when people say you're a conspiracy theorist, I do not consider that to be a pejorative, even if they do. I do not consider it to be an insult, even if that's how they intended it. I am a conspiracy theorist because I have to look at what's happening. I have to look at the conspiracies, the people that are conspiring against other people, including me or you, and then I have to formulate theories about what's really going on. What's going on with the drones in New Jersey? What's going on with Ukraine, with them, their suction black hole, whatever you want to call it, of aid that's going there? Why is so much aid going there? Nobody in D.C., nobody, not a single person in our government legitimately believes that Ukraine can win the war. It is a lost cause. It is a matter of time before Russia wins that war. And outside of, we'll say, the absolute total idiots, there might be a few of those, but otherwise 99.9% of members of Congress, of bureaucrats, members of the White House, almost 100% of them believe that Ukraine is going to lose the war eventually. So where's the kickback? Where's the conspiracy? Who's owned? How do they get owned? Are they getting anything back from it? All these are questions that need to be answered. And you can't get that from corporate media. And here's the thing. You can't really get it from conservative media, because conservative media really wants to say, oh, it's a waste. That's great. But there's more to it than that. They say, oh, Lindsey Graham is owned by the military-industrial complex. That's why he's doing it. Yes, that's true. But what more? There's more to it than that. Why is he owned? How is he owned? And what repercussions does that have on you and me? These are the questions that I want to answer. So, thank you so much for spending your time watching, your valuable time, watching or listening to the JD Rucker Show. I pray that I am able to deliver what I'm promising. I pray that I'll be able to hopefully enlighten you, and it won't just be your standard average, okay, we're going to own the libs today. Here's what Kash Patel is doing to fight back. Here's what Chuck Schumer's doing to try to destroy the country. I'm not saying none of that's important. That is important. And I'm not saying I'm not going to cover any of it. I will cover some of it. but only as it pertains to narratives and agendas that go deeper than just what we see on the surface. At the end of the day, what is a conspiracy theory? Conspiracy theory takes what is out there as the official narrative and digs deeper until it finds the truth. That, to me, is valuable and honorable. And sometimes the answers aren't going to be very pleasing. Sometimes the answers could get us in trouble for even uttering them. But somebody's got to do it, and there are other great shows out there talking about conspiracy theories. One thing I noticed, though, is that very few of them actually come back around to understanding the biblical implications. There are biblical implications to almost everything that's happening. There are prophetic implications. There are spiritual warfare going on. There are many things that we need to discuss. And I open my DMs for a reason. I give you my direct email, a way to get into my email box for a reason. Yes, it does end up resulting in a whole lot of spam. Okay? Unfortunately, 9 out of 10 of the emails I get are asking me if I'd like to, more resources for whatever. And vast majority of open DMs that I get are hey, good looking, wow. I mean, all these gorgeous, fake AI models seem to like me. But it's worth it because I get tidbits of information sometimes. I get tips, hints, direction. It helps. So again, jdrucker.com/talk. That'll go directly to me. x.com/jdrucker. My DMs are open, and I try to get back within a week, sometimes longer. It depends. It's not I have to keep it open, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be able to read through everything. And then, of course, if you want to find anywhere I am, because I would imagine that based upon everything that I'm saying here today and going forward, I'm probably going to get banned here or banned there or banned wherever. You can always find the various places I am at jdrucker.com/find. Let's take a quick break. And when I get back, let's get into some of these theories. I would say the vast majority of my audience is very, very hopeful for the future. The election of President Trump has been we're seeing shockwaves. We're already seeing results even at this early stage, but there are still concerns. He can't do everything. He's going to do everything in his vast power to protect us, to protect our nation, to defend the Constitution, to protect our freedoms. But that doesn't mean that there won't be risks, challenges. We're already seeing wars popping up and rumors of wars popping up across the globe. Will he be able to stop all of them? I think so. But what if he can't? What if, for whatever reason, cooler minds, cooler heads don't prevail and we find ourselves in the midst of something tragic? What about natural disasters? What about just the idiocy of the globalist regimes across this planet that are trying to do everything they can to destroy our food supply? They want to control the food, and they want to make sure that we're not eating the good stuff, especially as it pertains to protein, and specifically as it pertains to beef. Cows seem to be the main culprit for every boogeyman propagating bad guy out there. As a part owner of an all-American, patriotic, freeze-dried steak company, I am very, very blessed, pleased, and honored to be able to offer my wonderful audience an opportunity to take advantage. If you go to worldviewbeef.com and use promo code JDR, you will get the maximum possible discount. And there are other discount codes out there that are less. It's not like with certain companies where, it doesn't matter which promo code you use. Use JDR. I own the company. Use promo code JDR and get the maximum discount at any given moment at worldviewbeef.com. All American, no mRNA jabs. It's just the good stuff. So check it out, worldviewbeef.com. Funny, true story. I just got done with that spiel about how we're going to be focusing more on conspiracy theories and faith and the Bible and solutions, not just talking about politics. And the first story that I have is about politics. But in my defense. It's politics from a slightly conspiratorial angle because this needs to be addressed. And of course, I'm talking about the continuing resolution dropping on Wednesday, got to be voted on by Friday. It's an absolute debacle. And some people are calling it that, but there are a couple of quick notes that I don't think people are going to talk about very much. This article comes from Rebecca Downs over at townhall.com. Congress releases plan to avoid government shutdown, and conservatives are not thrilled with the product. And that is true. And to say that they're not thrilled, some of them, people like Chip Roy, are absolutely fired up, as they always get. Every time we get a CR, those who are fiscally responsible, or at least more responsible than their fellow members of Congress, they get upset because they know what it means. It's like, okay, here we go again. We're not going to do the budget the right way. Do you know how long it's been since we've actually done a budget the right way? I think it was like 1997 was the last time. It's happened like 3 or 4 times in the last half century that we've actually done a proper budget the right way. The way that it's laid out as a proper budgeting process. And there's a reason for that. That alone is a conspiracy. The reason that it's never done the right way is because they always they negotiate for months, but then they wait till the last minute to get it out there, and there's no time to discuss it. There's no time for arguments. There's no time to expose it for what it is. That's the key there. They don't want it exposed. They don't want anybody like me or you going through and saying, well, what the heck is this? What the heck is this? Call your congressman. Tell them not to vote for it. Look at this. Go to page 1239. They're trying to get it past not just the conservative members of Congress, but they're also trying to get it past you and me and the scrutiny of anybody in journalism that's actually still worth it, which there aren't a whole lot, but we'll see. Maybe that will improve here in the near future. But I want to get to a couple of quick points from a conspiratorial perspective. Number one is, here it is. Other add-ons in the legislation also include the reauthorization of the Counter Unmanned Aerial Systems program. Now, we heard people such as Alejandro Mayorkas and John Kirby out there talking about we need to reauthorize this, we need to expand powers for DHS over the skies, make it to where we can actually do something with this, that, or the other, blah, 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 blah. And there were a lot of conservatives and conspiracy theorists who were like, that's it, that's what the drones are about. This isn't about sniffing nukes or aliens or anything like that. It's about politics as usual. They're just trying to get more power. And I remember when I started hearing about that, I was thinking, well, number one, Mayorkas is going to be gone in a month. And John Kirby's going to be gone in a month. So why would they really even care? And then I thought, well, if that is the case, they're trying to get this squeezed through, then surely that must mean they're trying to stop President Trump from taking office. And I don't even want to entertain that thought at this time because, well, there's nothing we can do about it, right? So why focus on something that may or may not be true? And at this point, I think it's not true. But here we are. It had nothing to do with the drones. They just did it. They just threw it in there into a 1,500-page document. So that should hopefully, Lord willing, debunk any of those out there still saying, well, it's just about a power grab. That's what the drones are about. No, the drones are much bigger and more concerning than that. But the other thing to keep in mind, where to go? He said, I don't even think it's in here. Well, I don't need to read. I'll just tell you what it was. Mike Johnson had noted that, this is just gets it through because this goes until March. This will just get us through until we have full control, or something to that effect, until we have a unified government. That's what he said. Until we have a unified government, Republicans will control the House, the Senate, and the White House, and then we can go into the budget process. Great. Do that. Okay? My complaints about Mike Johnson will evaporate, as well as about John Thune, if they actually do this. And we need to let them know starting today, as soon as this CR is passed. So after Friday, we'll say. Then you got Christmas coming. So we'll say after Christmas, I'm begging all of you to contact them, and contact your reps, your Republican reps, senators, whatever, and tell them, you guys will have control. You have no excuses. We want a full, appropriate budget process with massive cuts next March. No more CRs, no more kicking the can down the road. Sick of it. Let's take a quick break for station identification. I'll be back in a few seconds. Be sure to follow my work everywhere that I work by going to jdrucker.com/find, F-I-N-D. jdrucker.com/find. You'll find my socials, my shows, my Substacks, the works. Story we had at the top of thelibertydaily.com today got a lot of attention surrounding Reuters and the bribes that are being paid to them for propaganda from the Biden administration. But here's the thing, and this is where the conspiracy comes in. It's that this is actually far bigger, far deeper than just, Biden paid a lot of money and now they're attacking Elon Musk. Now they're winning Pulitzer Prizes. That's a great story. Don't get me wrong. But if you dig deeper, you'll realize that this conspiracy has gone on for quite a while, and the architect of it is actually still around, and it's not Joe Biden. But let's start off with the news itself. This comes from Mike Benz, the great Mike Benz. He says the Biden administration paid Reuters over $300 million in government contracts. 11 different Biden government agencies targeted Elon Musk's businesses. All 11 agencies paid millions to Reuters. Reuters then won the Pulitzer Prize for their work on Elon Musk and misconduct at his businesses. Of course, Elon Musk is one of the prime targets of the left right now. They go after him, not quite as much as they go after Trump, not even close, really. But still, a lot of them are hitting him because they feel that he's doing too much damage, and he is. I would argue that no individual, no, not Joe Rogan or Alex Jones or whoever, Tucker Carlson, or JD Vance, or anybody else. None of them had as much of an impact on President Trump's victory as Elon Musk. He helped to deliver that victory. I would argue that if he had not bought Twitter, that we might not have President Trump today. Well, President-elect Trump, technically speaking. But here's the thing. In that particular post, by the way, that tweet ended up getting like well over 15 million views already. 15,000 retweets. It's just a huge hit. People are commenting on it. They're outraged. But I noticed that very few people are talking about this as a whole. They're looking at it, well, Biden paid Reuters $300 million, and then Reuters did a hit piece on Musk, and they won a Pulitzer Prize. Yeah, that's a big story, but perhaps the bigger story is the fact that this is not an isolated incident, and it's been going on for quite a while. As a matter of fact, it was Barack Obama who put this forth. This was a 2009 contract that we're talking about, and it's not just with Reuters News. It's with Thomson Reuters, the parent company. They control vast amounts of data. I mean, they're up there. They're up there, very similar to Bloomberg, for example. Very similar to Microsoft. Reuters has Thomson Reuters, and there are various companies. They have access to extreme levels of data, and that data is being purchased by the U.S. government. Not only is it being purchased, but it's being controlled in many ways by the U.S. government. They get to dictate who gets to see all of this massive amounts of data, which data, of course, is a very powerful tool when you're trying to control the people. So this isn't just about propaganda, though that has a great deal to do with everything we're talking about. It also has to do with the overall reach of government into Thomson Reuters, and Thomson Reuters, their reach into our lives. Yes, propaganda, big deal. And we need to try to stop it as much as possible. But it goes deeper than that. This is why I'm calling on President Trump to end this contract. I mean, some people are saying, well, President Trump should use the contract and the money paid to them to control the narrative and to get. They wouldn't do it. It wouldn't work. Okay? Just because they got paid doesn't mean they wouldn't have been very much in favor of going after Elon Musk or Donald Trump or MAGA or whoever anyway. They are a left-leaning legacy media outlet. They're going to come out. The fact they got paid, that helped to maybe push them over the edge and maybe gave them some guidance as to what to actually report. But that's not enough, and there's no way that Trump could successfully to use this to his advantage or to America's advantage. So my call here, cut it. Cancel it. You might say, but we need that data. Yes, The Trump can use that data, but here's the thing: we can't continue to shoot ourselves in the foot. Just because a Trump administration might use that data better doesn't mean we want that data out there or in the hands of government at all. It is weaponized. It's currently being weaponized. It will be weaponized through the Trump administration as well. It's not like he's sitting there micromanaging and breaking down everything, every way that the data is being used. He might be able to get the right people to do it, but I would argue that in this case, the benefits of 4 years with Trump having access to that data are far overshadowed by the concerns that you and I should all have regarding what somebody else can and will and already has done with that data. If I were to tell you that pretty much every action taken by the left, by Democrats, by the uniparty swamp even, to some extent, but definitely by Democrats, that every action taken against the military is designed to weaken it. Now you might ask, why would they want to weaken the military? And it's because they want us to be vulnerable. I wouldn't say that they necessarily want us to be destroyed or taken over, though that's not out of the question. I would say some of them definitely do. They want to see the United States of America brought down, destroyed even, and perhaps rebuilt under some Marxist worldview, or if maybe not even rebuilt at all. That is their intention. But even those who are a little bit more sane, more self-preserving, would still want us to be weakened because they look at this as a leverage point, and it really is. One of the reasons that the United States has been able to maintain its supremacy is because of its military supremacy. Ever since the end of the Cold War, it was realized that the United States has the best military in the world, hands down. And that even combining militaries of certain countries wouldn't be enough to take us down, not with our allies. Well, things are changing. Things are changing dramatically, and they are trying to both weaken us and strengthen the likes of China, North Korea, Russia, Iran, even Turkey, who's a NATO member for whatever reason. These are all potential threats to us. And they need to not only lift those ones up, but they also have to take ours down. And it's not just about the wokeness aspect of it, though I would argue that ever since the Obama years, that has been one of the primary ways to try to weaken and destroy our military is through wokeness, through LGBTQIA plus supremacy, through focusing on, we need to have a kinder, gentler military. It's like, no, we need warfighters. Duh. It's a military. These are warfighters. These are people that are supposed to defend us through lethal force, not through kindness. But it's worse than that. They are also trying to affect us, our military, from a physical perspective. There's an article came out over at justthenews.com. Pentagon funds alternative meat proteins from fungus for military food to meet sustainability goals. There it is, sustainability. I could do an entire series of shows about how sustainability and the whole climate change con is designed to destroy the United States of America. That's literally its singular goal. It has nothing to do with preventing global warming. It's all about the economic and physical destruction of the United States of America. But we're not going to talk about that today. According to the article, the Pentagon is funding alternatives to meat protein, which includes using fungi for food for U.S. service members as part of the White House's sustainable bioeconomy agenda. The Department of Defense is focusing on investments into fungi protein as an alternative to animal protein after initially seeking to fund lab-grown meat earlier this year in an effort to reduce carbon emissions. Critics have pushed back on such initiatives, arguing that they are negatively affecting the military. You think? Here, have this mushroom burger. That'll make you strong. Anyway, in November, the DoD announced that it has given 34 awards totaling $60 million to bioindustrial firms under the Distributed Bioindustrial Manufacturing Program, yada, yada, yada. The program is part of Joe Biden's Executive Order 14081. I want you to listen carefully to this name. Advancing biotechnology and biomanufacturing innovation for a sustainable, safe, and secure American bioeconomy. Now, look, I'm okay with a sustainable military. I'm also okay with a safe and a secure America. Once you start throwing in bio into everything, it really changes the meaning. Let's read that without the word the prefix bio on 3 of those words. And you tell me if this sounds good. Advancing technology and manufacturing innovation for a sustainable, safe, and secure American economy. See, that makes sense. Once you throw in biotechnology, biomanufacturing, bioeconomy, all of a sudden, everything gets spun on its head. None of that makes sense anymore. It's all doublespeak. It's all about weakening America. In August, as part of the DBIMP, the DoD awarded nearly $1.5 million to the Better Meat Company, which harnesses amazing power of fermentation to make delicious, clean mycoprotein ingredients for food companies to use as the basis of their hybrid and fully animal-free meats. Okay, here's the thing. There's no such thing as an animal-free meat. Okay, there might be animal-free proteins. They are weaker than animal proteins. That has been demonstrated through science. They do not digest as well. They do not produce muscles as well. This is not something that we should be testing on our U.S. military. But we are. Hopefully not for long. Anybody who has access to Pete Hegseth, please get this on his radar. I know that he's already in the process of I'm hoping that it's just, hey, let me get confirmed and then let me go out and do what I said I was going to do, which is to really fix the military and end wokeness completely in the military. I hope that him coming out and talking to certain senators and saying, oh, yeah, maybe we can't have women in this combat role or whatever. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully he doesn't go weak on it. But it's not just about ending the wokeness. There is a physical attack from our own government against our warfighters, and it's coming in the form of poor nutrition, poor equipment. I mean, we are not giving them everything they need. These should be the men and women. These should be the people that we deliver the greatest healthcare, the greatest food, high quality nutrient food, not fungi protein, not fermented protein alternatives, meat alternatives. Give them the real stuff. Stick a burger in front of them, have them eat it, and rinse and repeat. I assure you, they'll get stronger, and their enemies will be more fearful of them. Why? Because they won't be loaded with fungi.
I have one kid. You have 5 kids.
That's what you.
How do you? That's incredible.
It's kind of like being an FBI agent. You're always kind of monitoring them and making sure everyone's safe.
Makes good sense. I'm actually a real agent. Well, not an agent. I'm actually a deputy sheriff.
Are you really?
Right there. Many, many years.
Are you serious?
For real life, real life.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're a sheriff.
Yep.
Played at Princeton. Pro football player. Greatest superhero of all time.
Never drafted to Major League Baseball like you for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Thank you very much.
Knuckleballer. How do you hit a knuckleball?
You don't.
You don't.
You don't.
That's the whole point.
That was the beauty of it. We may have always played on different sides, being the superhero or the supervillain.
Supervillain.
But we have a lot more in common than I thought that we did.
Which is shocking, because one thing's for sure. Genesis Gold Group is a company that we both trust. They make safeguarding your IRA or your 401k as simple as possible. And I need simple,
That's right.
I'll be honest.
And with their stellar reputation, they're as solid as the gold that they sell.
Like this gold right here. So call Genesis Gold Group today at 1-800-200-GOLD.
What is that?
This is what they call a prepper bar. So like you can break off these little pieces? Oh, it's on both sides.
And it's great because you can carry that around small. And
Oh yeah, and you can literally use it to spend.
Or it's not like this one.
What?
This is the big fella. This is a really great one.
Is that real?
This is a real one. You want to hold it? It's heavy.
Holy smokes.
That's pretty great. Yeah, you can get them one of those from Genesis Gold yourself.
Hey, you guys see this? Look, check
Dean,
this out.
Dean, that's my kid's college tuition money. Hold on, I'll be back. Dean!
Yeah. Who's the supervillain now, huh?
Yeah, that's my goal, Dean!
All right, let's talk about drones. So we've gone through many different theories regarding the drones in New Jersey and across the nation. 2 of the most prominent ones that we've discussed are, number 1, of course, the sniffer theory. I've covered that ad nauseum, really. The idea that there's either a nuke from Ukraine or possibly possibly radioactive material for a dirty bomb floating around somewhere, and that these sniffer drones are out there trying to find it. The other big one that we've discussed is the idea that they're just trying to use this as a scare tactic to reauthorize through the CR the bill to extend and advance the control of the government over our airspace, their ability to go after drones and to do whatever they want to do with their own drones. That seems to be at least a possibility, but we sort of debunked that earlier. But here's the thing. Yes, it's in the CR. Yes, the CR is going to pass. And when it does, everything, that theory will either be proven correct or it will be proven incorrect, because if we see the drones all of a sudden stop, then I'll be like, oh, okay, well, I guess it really was just to all this hoopla was to advance a bill, in which case at that point we need to dig deep into the bill and find out exactly what's happening with it. But as far as the sniffer part, we've heard some that have debunked it. The best one I've seen so far, the best debunking of it, came on Joe Rogan's show. We have a story over here by Tyler Durden over at Zero Hedge. Former F-18 pilot tells Joe Rogan drones aren't WMD sniffers as DroneGate intensifies. Former U.S. Navy Lieutenant and FA-18F pilot Ryan Graves appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast to start the week, dismissing rumors that drone sightings in the New Jersey, New York skies were sniffers searching for radioactive devices. Still, he describes the situation as dangerous and scary, yada, yada, yada. There's Mr. Graves himself. He still says that it's scary, and he says that whatever it is, they're pursuing something. It's just not the... Here, let's just play it. This is Ryan Graves on with Joe Rogan.
Where it is and to go get it, right? So you can imagine that would be their number one priority, right? So I engage with these folks. I ask them, what's the sense here? People are kind of starting to panic a little bit, and this message is getting out there more and more broadly. And they assured me that's not the case, that there is not a loose nuke or other type of weapon of mass destruction that these objects, whatever they are pursuing right now. Otherwise, they would be working in a skiff nonstop to make that go away, that problem go away. So, that's part of why I have a high confidence level that this is not a response to a massive imminent, weapons of mass destruction threat on the eastern seaboard. So I just want to try to dispel that rumor right now. I've seen a lot of talk of that online. And I don't, although this is I think a dangerous and scary situation that's going on right now, at least from that particular angle, that's not the indications I'm receiving.
So how would they persuaded you? Just by saying that's not the case? Or have they given you any information that leads to this conclusion?
They would be the people actively working it, essentially, right? So, and they're not working it, right? So either the government is holding back that secret from the direct resources within the government that are responsible for finding these systems, or they're not working the issue because there isn't an issue there to work.
So the thing that I had heard was that it was a missing nuke from Ukraine. And if that was the case, what could they do? Is there any truth to this idea that we have the type of drone capability that we could send these things out and they would search for gamma radiation and they'd be able to find a nuke? Is that...
So there are teams that respond to those types of potential emergencies, typically within the Department of Energy. Having potentially hundreds of drones flying around trying to identify these isn't necessarily the best way. Gamma radiation is typically well shielded in weapons, and at very high altitudes or even moderate altitudes, like we're seeing these objects, it would be pretty difficult to detect them. And the way that NIST, the DOE, typically operates in this environment is ground-based teams searching for radiation itself. So it's not necessarily consistent with how they would do it to begin with. And then based off of that other information, that's what leads me to believe that's not the case.
Well, that makes me feel better because I was freaking out this weekend.
I think a lot of people were.
Yeah, I got a couple. But it's one of those things.
All right. Well, you get the idea there. I mean, he seems trustworthy. This is the guy. Let's read about him. Trump's words were very important, but you've already heard them, so I'm going to skip that. Let's get to the part about. Here we go. Certainly, the plot is thickening by the day as DroneGate becomes a major headache for the federal government, leaving the American people in a state of panic just before Christmas. On Saturday, we explained one theory of how the purported drone sightings could be a psyop to manipulate lawmakers into passing the new H.R. 8610, which will include appropriations and enhance government counter-drone powers. Oddly, President Trump canceled his trip this weekend to his beloved Bedminster golf course, a decision that, in itself, suggests the possibility of an ongoing national security threat. Remember, Trump reads national security briefings. One question we have is what motivated Graves to go on Rogan's podcast? And that really is the big question here. You know, he's gone before Congress. As recall, the former pilot said he has a number of government contacts after his work of testifying in a 2023 House hearing about unidentified aerial phenomenons. Does he have contacts at U.S. Special Operations Command, the FBI, or other agencies that oversee WMD threats? That's a good question. The lack of disclosure by the feds is quickly damaging public trust. It's time for the feds to come clean about what's really happening. If we had to speculate, it's entirely possible this could be a manufactured crisis psyop designed to advance H.R. 8610. Yeah. So it is now included in DroneGate. It is now, or I'm sorry, it was always included in DroneGate. It is now included in the continuing resolution. So I guess mission accomplished. Here's the thing. If we see DroneGate go away, if the drones just stop all of a sudden and we no longer start to see them, this time next week, then we'll know. Yeah, it probably really was the getting the drone authority passed. If it continues, then I think we can debunk that because they're going through a whole ton of effort. I don't know what it is, but the thought that this has something to do, the timing of it, leads me to believe that this does have something to do with the incoming Trump presidency. And if that's the case, God help us all. Pray for Trump's safety. You think that after at least that we know of 2 assassination attempts, that they wouldn't try something crazy or desperate, using drones, using it to I mean, we have to remember that these people are extraordinarily desperate. And when I say these people, I'm referring specifically to the globalist elite cabal. They do not want certain things to happen. And they are willing to manipulate things so that their outcome, the outcome that they want, comes to pass. And if that means hurting dozens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of people, tens of millions, I don't think there's a limit. I think that if they had an opportunity to advance their agenda and they would have to kill off 98% of the population, they'd be okay with that. As long as they had their servants around, they would be fine. They hate you, they hate me, and they're willing to do anything. So don't tell me that, this couldn't have anything to do with President Trump coming in office, lest we forget. The whole drone phenomenon, DroneGate, started when? Around mid-November. That's when they were first started getting cited and reported by the news. Awful coincidence that it started a week and a half after President Trump won his re-election. Don't assume anything when it comes to the bad guys. Their willingness to cheat, to cause great harm, to manipulate, to commit acts of evil, they have no limits. There was a heck of an idea proposed by former Congressman Matt Gaetz. Earlier today, Gaetz got the bad news that the House was going to release the Gaetz report, the alleged whatever. He talks about his sexual escapades as a young man, and they're going to try to smear him with it, of course. Despite the fact that he did leave, he did withdraw from being the Attorney General for President Trump, and he resigned from Congress. But technically speaking, he can undo his resignation. And so, as is properly fitting for somebody like Matt Gaetz, he had an idea. He posted on X. Someone suggests the following plan to me: show up January 3rd to Congress, participate in speaker elections. He was elected to the 119th Congress, after all. Take the oath, and then file a privileged motion to expose every quote-unquote Me Too settlement paid using public funds, even of former members. Resign and start my OAN program on January 6th. So in other words, he'd go to Congress, show up, accept his role, and then out all of the Me Tooers where taxpayer funds are used to pay off whoever it is accusing some congressman, some senator, past and present. And it's funny that he noted the even of former members. In other words, he was pointing to Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy is the person behind all of this vindictive nature, right? It's Kevin McCarthy who's really got a beef with Matt Gaetz, and understandably so. It was Gaetz who got McCarthy out of his dream job as Speaker of the House. He was only in for like 8 months before Gaetz was able to oust him, and then he eventually left Congress because he wasn't going to take the demotion for long. And Congress has been a better place ever since, but McCarthy has still been persistent in his attacks on Gaetz, and I would assume that some McCarthy loyalists are the ones that are behind the releasing of this quote-unquote damning report, which Gaetz doesn't seem too concerned. He said, look, he made some statement about how, like, in his youth, before he was married and yada, yada, yada. In other words, there's probably some pretty juicy stuff in there, but who cares? Especially now that he's out of Congress. So I fully support this idea. And Marjorie Taylor Greene came out earlier today. She said that she would support releasing all of the files, any files, all of them. If you're going to release the Matt Gaetz file, then you should release the Me Too files. You should release any investigations against any members of Congress. And I wholeheartedly agree with that as well. The only time where you would not want to release that is if there was a finding of no wrongdoing whatsoever. That doesn't mean a settlement. A settlement is not an indicator of no wrongdoing, even if the victims or whoever, even if they sign a waiver that says, we're not acknowledging wrongdoing. Well, look, if you don't want to acknowledge the wrongdoing, then chances are you did the wrongdoing. But whatever. I'm saying if you're going to pay somebody for it. And that might not be the case. I don't want to say that's a blanket statement, because there are times when the headache alone is enough, to maybe a congressman really didn't do anything with a particular person, but that person files a suit, and it's like, well, I can't really prove that I didn't do what she says I did. I'll just go ahead and pay her. It's not my money anyway. It's just taxpayer money after all. And now that I think about it, that's bad too. So you might as well just expose them all. Anyway, yeah, we'll see. By the time you watch this, we will know whether or not the vote went down. It looks like it's not going to. It looks like Kevin McCarthy, might as well be Kevin McCarthy. Looks like Speaker of the House Mike Johnson might push back his mammoth 1,500-page CR and instead go with a clean CR. In other words, literally exactly what it is today, do that for the next few months. And that's not even good, but at least, there's no $70,000 pay raise from members of Congress. At least there's no any of the other pork that was thrown in there for the sake of trying to get it snuck in before Elon Musk and Donald Trump and everybody comes in and starts making changes. They were really trying to sneak one past us. Thankfully, a handful, it was probably about 20 or 30 Republicans in the Congress denounced it. And then you had Elon Musk come out and say, hey, guess what? He even came out and said that the biolabs are still being funded in this bill. The biolabs of all things. Awful, awful stuff. So praise God for Elon Musk. Praise God for Matt Gaetz. Praise God for Donald Trump. And praise God for the United States of America. We do still live in the freest nation, even though I know looking around sometimes it doesn't feel like it. Lord willing, I will be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, you all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless. After Trump was elected president, I received a couple of communications from people. One via phone, text, and the other one via Twitter X direct message, people asking me, hey, now that Trump's back in office, is the economy going to get better? And I said, yeah, in some ways it definitely will. Obviously, I mean, just Trump's presence alone will have a dramatic impact on the economy, and it will take things to the next level. But with that said, the threats still remain. Trump, Harris, didn't matter. They're still pushing, they being the powers that be, are still pushing for central bank digital currencies. They're still pushing for de-dollarization and the rise of BRICS. They're still pushing for the advancement of a worldwide economy. And while Trump will do everything in his power to prevent that, to at least slow it down, some of it is not within even the power of the United States of America itself. And this is why there is no reason, you can see by the gold prices, there's no reason to doubt physical precious metals as a proper way to hedge against what is coming. Because it's still coming. You know, there were certain scenarios that would have happened if Kamala Harris had won, and there are certain scenarios that will happen now that President Trump has won. And those scenarios still point in the same exact direction. That's the reason why even central banks are still buying up as much gold and silver as possible. That's why banks, financial institutions are recommending to their people, buy as much gold and silver as possible. I work with a faith-driven gold company. There are a lot of gold companies out there that get recommended by hosts. The one that I like happens to be driven by faith, and they actually do a tremendous job versus the competition. You can check out Genesis Gold Group by going to rumblegold.com. That's rumblegold.com, or read my testimony over at jdrucker.com/gold.